This video we're going to talk about classification of fluid flows. Okay, so this is not a limited classification. There can be many more types of classification. Okay, but these are some of the most common ones. The first classification is viscous and inviscid regions. So in a flow, you can have a viscous region. Of course, viscous region is where the viscosity of the fluid is considered in the flow, and the inviscid region is where the viscosity has no effect to the flow. Okay, so if you learned in the previous video, you know that viscosity is the ability to move. So in the viscous region is where the fluid is not able to move fully. So what is stopping it from moving is itself, and also, as you can see here, is this solid wall. All right, you will have a whole chapter about this actually. So if you don't understand it very clearly now, don't worry about it. All right, so the next one is internal versus external flow. Internal flow is when a flow is happening in a confined space, for example a pipe or a tube, whereas external flow is when you have a flow outside. This is where example, flow over a car, okay, flow over uh, any moving body, right? So that is external flow. Next, we have a compressible versus incompressible flow. So if you understand the word compress, you should understand this with no problems. Okay, incompressible is not compressible. If you cannot compress something, it means the density remains constant. And compressible is just the opposite. Okay, all right, so this is related to the Mach number and the speed of sound, but I'm not going to go too deep into this yet, right? The next classification is laminar versus turbulent flow, which also you have one whole chapter dedicated to it at the end of the subject. So in simple words, laminar is when the flow is smooth, turbulent, which is when the flow is not smooth, it's very chaotic, and transitional is in between. The next is you have a natural versus forced flow. Forced flow is when the flow is literally forced, for example, by a pump or a fan. And natural flow is when it happens due to natural effects, for example, how warm air will move up, okay, and how cooler fluid will tend to move downwards. That is a natural flow. Next is we have steady versus unsteady flow. Now, the word steady here means no change at a point with time. So a steady flow is when at t equals to 0, it is a certain way. At t equals to 10, it is the same way. Nothing changes over time. That is a steady flow. The opposite, of course, is unsteady. Okay, if you're driving at a constant speed of 100 kilometers per hour, then you are moving steadily. If you're moving at 100 and then you're speeding to 120, 130 and then braking, and then you see the camera sign and then you tend to slow down to below 110, that is an unsteady condition. All right, now the next term that's always related is uniform. Uniform is when there's no change within the location. Everything in the system that you're studying is the same. Okay, and the opposite is of course non-uniform. I'm sure that you will understand all these concepts better when we are doing the questions. Okay, so that's it for this part. I'll see you in the next one.